everybody. It is Friday the 8th of July and I have been feeling pretty crap over the last couple of days. Seem to have come down with some kind of virus which has just given me aches and pains and headache and fevers and being sweaty and everything. It's just been horrible, but seem to be over it now, and fortunately I'd got a few in the bag, so the last 2 nights I've not been I've just been feeling very sorry for myself in bed, so I've got to now video this and get it uploaded for my dram for today. But I can taste, it seems I can actually taste stuff, and I'm not feeling utterly crap like I was previously, so let's crack on with and it's Friday, so you know, let's make the most of it and crack on with it. So I've been going through a little run of Buffalo Trace releases, and I think this is the last one. I can't remember if I've got some coming. There's a couple of very generous guys at the British Bourbon Society on Facebook who are sending me some samples, but I can't remember if there was going to be a Buffalo Trace release in one of them, possibly. But the last one that I've got in my stock at the moment is this one, which is one of mine. I'll be perfectly honest, I bought this for the bottle. I think it's an absolutely gorgeous bottle. In fact, I don't think I bought it. I think it was my wife bought it for me when we were in Florida, because she said, I'll buy you a bottle as a present, and I went, can I have that one please, because it looks really nice. Not knowing it was from Buffalo Trace, not knowing what it was like. I think, I'm seeing this online for about anywhere between $50 and $70, and the general consensus seems to be it's about $70, but I'm sure we paid less. I'm sure it was like 40, 45 max. Now, it was about 3-4 years ago, to be honest, so it's entirely possible that it's crept up and up. But I don't think we paid that much, but apparently you're looking at about between $50 and $70. So Rock Hill Farms is Buffalo Trace. It's a single barrel bourbon. And Rock Hill Farms itself was the home of one of the former presidents of the Buffalo Trace Distillery, Albert B. Blanton. Now, I've done Blantons previously. Blantons is another single barrel, and this Rock Hill actually uses the same mash bill. It's called mashbill number 2, and apparently it's got quite a high rye content in it. So this is the same mash bill as Blantons and also Elmer T. Lee as well. So there's no age statement on this. A couple of places said they think it's about 8 to 10 years old, but nobody's really sure or confirming. I'm just gonna... There we go. Oh, it didn't do a bonk sound, which I was hoping it would do. Now, it's got one of these really, really annoying lips on it, which is an absolute pain in the arse to pour. Whoever designs these bottles with this big, thick rim in it, will you stop? Because it is I hate things. It's so hard to, pour into one of these. It's hard enough to pour into a glass. And if you're trying to pour samples into like little bottles to send to people, which I have been doing occasionally, it's impossible. It's absolutely ridiculous. If you're going to do something like that with a big thick rim like that, just put a little groove or something in one of them, or a little lip, just so it's literally like a little pouring thing. It can't be that difficult, surely. So anyway, so this is essentially the same recipe, I suppose you could call it, see, it's dunking into the whiskey now when I'm pouring it into my jigger, and my hand's shaking like Billy O because it's actually quite awkward and heavy. It's a chunky bottle. So it's essentially the same recipe as Blanton's and Elmer T. Lee. Now, Elmer T. Lee was, what are we looking at that price-wise? I can't remember. Was it about $35? It's not that long since I've had it, so let me just go back through my notes and see, yeah, $35 for the Elmer T. Lee. Blanton's is about $50. So this is a little bit more expensive. So it's whether it's slightly overpriced or not, because this should be, essentially what I'm looking at. Elmer T. Lee was good. Elmer T. Lee was classic bourbon all the way through. Stereotypical, but really good, solid, everything you would want from a bourbon all the way through. Blanton's is also really good, really classy. So I'm expecting this to be good. Is it twice the price of Elmer T. Lee's worth of good? Is it $10 to $20 worth more than Blanton's? Now, Master of Malt have got this listed on their website. It says it's sold out, but they were selling it for 98 quid. So I've got a feeling that it's going to be good, but it might be a bit overpriced. But let's see. It's 50%, 100 proof. And like I say, it's a single barrel as well. So this is hand-picked barrels that they're trying to maintain some kind of consistency as well. So the ages might be different. Now, none of them are, there's nothing on here to say which barrel, dated when, all of that lot, like some of these releases do. Like Blantons, for instance. Now, it's quite hot on the nose. Hotter than a 50%, I would have said. There's a slight dryness to it as well, but it's almost brandy-esque. It's really quite spirity. It's nowhere near as spirity on the nose. You can pick up it's got a higher rye content. It's a little bit sharper, and the fruit isn't quite as dark. So there is raisins on it, but it's not as concentrated. There's dark cherries, but it's not quite as concentrated. There's plums, but it's not quite as rich. It's not quite as, and I keep saying it every single time, blah blah blah, dark fruit, blah blah blah, Christmas cake, but it's not quite, it's like a Christmas cake that's not as fruity. So there's more cake in it than there is fruit. I don't think it needs water, even at 50%. I don't really think it needs it. I think I've got a feeling that if I put water in it, it would actually knock the flavours down. It's quite well balanced, to be perfectly honest, but there's a good balance of alcoholic burn, and there's a grapiness in there as well. There's a weird, slightly astringent note to it, but it's not unpleasant, and it's almost like the dryness of a white wine, but a really dry white wine, like a really dry Sauvignon Blanc or a really dry Riesling. Not quite salty, but there's this odd line of just dry astringency in there, which it's making it interesting. It's not a classic bourbon, it's slightly unusual. It's got bourbon characteristics to it, but it's almost, there's another element to it which is just slightly different to anything that I've had before. It is good, it's a good bourbon. But 2 bottles of Velveteen Leaf for the same price as that is a bit of a no-brainer. And as much as I love the bottle, as absolutely beautiful as I think that is, I think it's lovely, it's almost like that's $20 worth of bottle rather than what's inside it, to be honest. Yeah, I think it's a little bit overpriced. So if you find it in a bar, or if it's on deal and it's, you know, you're in the States and it's down to 40, 50 bucks, I think could we fly in the room? $50 is, I think, probably about as steep as you want to get on that. Anything over 50, a little bit too much, particularly considering Blanton's is about 50, 60, and I would probably give Blanton's the edge of that. Blanton's just have a little bit more depth. There's not much finish on this either. It dies a little bit quickly. It's not a bad bourbon by any stretch of the imagination. It's just knowing how much it is. It's just putting me off a little bit, because I know there's better bourbons for that price. Not better bourbons for that price. There are better bourbons for that price or less, and more interesting bourbons. It's a good, well-made, solid bourbon. I just think pushing $70 is, it's not got enough in it, in the character itself, to justify that price point. The bottle does, but the whiskey inside, particularly considering how good El Matil is. I think that was absolutely fantastic, and for $35 it's a ridiculous price. I certainly wouldn't pay 98 quid a bottle for it. But yeah, little bit of a disappointment, just in terms of the price. If I'd have bought it myself, I'd probably be appreciating it, but if I'd have paid $70 for that, I would have, if I'd have had other bourbons in my collection and knowing what the prices are and everything like that, I'd be a little bit disappointed to it. So if you can find it, do try it, do drink it, because it's a very good solid bourbon, but there's nothing particularly outstanding about it to justify the price that they're charging. Right, so that's the last of my Buffalo Trace releases. So I'm going to do a quick rinse out and then crack on with the next one, which should be quite unusual. Certainly sounds it looking at the label. And then I'll have to do a quick bit of editing and upload. So I shall see you at the next one. Cheers.